Well, welcome back to the shed, and the Sharp RT10 stereo cassette deck looking a bit more like its old self now, but most importantly of all, sounding more like its old self. Now on these cassette decks, the take-up spool here is driven from a little rubber collar on the main capstan shaft, and after a few years these things tend to go to goo. Well, of course, you can't get the original part anymore. So after a lot of dismantling and scratching my head, the only thing I could think of to do was to use overlapping layers of what they call shrink sleeve. This is usually used to cover up joins in cables, and when it's heated up gently, it shrinks onto the joint, keeping the water out and any finger poking out, so that there's no poppen corken and spitzensparken. But of course this stuff was ideal for this purpose because it's slightly rubbery, it contracts evenly as you heat it up, and so the result is that we now have a working Sharp RT10. Fairly entry-level thing in its day. It's made in 1980 and is old enough to have the European 5-pin DIN socket on the back. Just about starting to get the LED meters coming in instead of the more usual analog VU meter type at this point. But even so, it does do metal, chrome, or normal tape, and is fitted with Dolby. Variable record level, of course, as you'd expect on something like this. Other connections on the back are via RCA plugs. And to that end, I've connected it up to a little Panasonic boombox up there to use as an amp. The only thing that's a bit awkward about this, if you had it as part of a stack system, would be that the input switch that goes from line to microphone is here. So that would make it a bit of a pig, I suppose, if you ever wanted to use a mic. Not that most people with a stack system would have done, of course. So here goes. So there you are, we're back to full health, thank heavens. take a quick look at the back. In those days, things used to have the kite mark on there, which meant they'd been approved for use in England or the UK. Nowadays it just says CE, and not quite sure what that means. Chinese excrement, maybe? You decide. Anyway, needless to say, this thing will sound a lot better through a proper amplifier. I'm just using a little Panasonic RX C36 up there, and its own speakers as an amp in here, just for purposes of testing. Did sound very nice indeed through headphones, although there's no volume control for that on there, so you get your ears blown off. Well, you did with the headphones I used anyway. So that's another old crock fixed, and the owner will be very happy, no doubt. So there we have it, and we'll see you again in the shed or in the kitchen for some more old junk or old crocks being fixed. See you soon.